Hello, friends and family. All right, today I have another Navy story. Today I'm going to talk about the first time I was in an airplane that got shot off of the flight deck catapult when I was on the aircraft carrier. So this happened to me twice, and I know a lot of people. Most of the people I know have never had the privilege of being on a plane that got shot off the flight deck catapult. So this was actually pretty cool that I got to do it and then got to do it again. But the first time was really cool because there's the backstory about how it was my first deployment and I didn't have a very good one. Like there was a lot of stuff that went wrong that for the whole deployment in that year, and I was having a really rough time. And because I was transferring to a different carrier, I ended up getting to leave the deployment early to go back to San Diego and join the next ship I was going to be on. But yeah, the way this thing happened, like it happened so fast that it was fun. The whole catapult airplane thing was fun, but just the idea that I'm getting to leave deployment, because man, deployment was. The foreign ports were fun and being in different countries were fun and stuff, but like when you're out at sea, there's so much of it that's not fun. And I think a lot of other sailors can attest to it. However, yeah, so this was the only time that I had ever been on the flight deck during flight operations. So in port, we're on the flight deck all the time, and then at sea, when we're not doing flight operations, there's some times that they allow us onto the flight deck. But normally when there's flight ops going on, you have to be up in Vulture's Row if you're not part of the air crew, the air wing. And Vulture's Row is kind of like really high up in the tower, like where it's above the bridge where the air boss and the mini boss sit with their binoculars and watching planes take off and land and stuff. And it's just outside that room. And it's really high up from where we usually stay, and it's also not very fun. Like there's a lot of jet fuel that gets into your eyes, it's really loud, and it's cool if you've never been up there, but if you've been up there once or twice, it's not really a place that you care to go up there again because it's just too far away, and it's like you'd rather just do something else. But anyway, so this time I got, they gave me like a vest and a cranial and stuff. And then they go through this briefing. They're like, for all of you, for those of you that have not been on a plane, and this wasn't a fighter plane. They called it a COD. It was like a carrier onboard delivery plane. So it's like a passenger plane. So for those of us that have never been on a plane that's taken off from the flight deck, they gave us a little briefing because we actually sit backwards, and the thing accelerates super fast, right? It's like 0 to 150 miles an hour in like 2 seconds or something. We couldn't see, like there's very few windows to where we couldn't see out of the plane while it was during takeoff. And so they say the takeoff is going to surprise you, and if you're not positioned properly, then you might hurt yourself. So they had us put our arms kind of crossed over our chests, like holding the vest that they had us wear, like the life vest, I guess. And then put your feet up against the seat in front of you, because as the plane is jolting you backwards, you're going to fold up like a taco, and they don't want your shins smacking into the seat in front of you. So yeah, we go through this briefing, and then, we get into like a single file line, because once you go on the flight deck, it's not just like a free-for-all. You can't just walk wherever. They have designated areas that are safe for people to walk. And so first we're like kind of sitting on the catwalk, which is right outside. Like it's kind of like the... it's like the catwalk, the one that's right below the flight deck, or right on the outside of the flight deck, waiting for our permission to get on the flight deck. And as we're on that catwalk, you can see planes landing, taking off and landing. And so whenever we get the green light, we're just kind of standing like, single file line, and then we're getting to see, which is really cool. We're getting to see like all the work that we hear about. We get to see it live in person, and we see the jet blast deflectors, and we see the afterburners going off, and we see all the crew of the ordnance crew and the jet fuel crew and everybody, right? Arresting gear and everything. And so then they get us on the plane. The plane kind of looks almost like a C-130, where you board like in the back end of it. and then we get in our seat, and then you're just kind of sitting there. It's not like a commercial plane where you get like peanuts and drinks and air conditioning and movies. It's just a plane, but you're so excited to be leaving the ship and getting to experience this thing that it's super fun. And yeah, it was actually one of the funnest things that I remember getting to do, I think, in my entire time that I was active. And mostly because I'm probably never going to get to do it again. Now, I never was able to land on a carrier. I was never able to be in a plane that caught the arresting gear cable and land on the flight deck. I hear that also is kind of fun. Well, actually, I guess I've heard two different things. I guess if you're a pilot and you get to land, then it's actually super fun because it means that you were good enough to land the plane on a carrier, which is not easy. But if you're a passenger doing that, I heard it's a little bit painful because then you're like screeching to a halt from going, however fast. And then you get to 0 miles an hour like very, very quickly. So it's like someone slamming on the brakes really hard. So I heard it's not very fun. So I'm glad I got to do the catapult thing. I wouldn't have minded landing on a plane, but I never got a chance to do that. So yeah, and then another surreal thing that happened is so we went from wherever we were, like in the Persian Gulf or in the Atlantic Ocean, and I think we landed in. Well, I'm trying to think where did we go? I think we landed in Singapore. I forgot what country we landed in. But I know that night I spent the night in Singapore. And wherever we landed, it was like maybe an hour or an hour and a half flight. Like not a very long flight. And I remember leading up to the flight, like the day of, while I was still on board the carrier, the day was taking so long and the deployment was taking so long. It was just like the hours and the days and the weeks, they just, they were just dragging on and on, like back to back. And then finally, when we finally shot off the catapult, I remember thinking that time started speeding up. Like every time I looked at my watch, it seemed like 5 or 10 minutes had gone by when it felt like only a couple of minutes. And I take a little nap, wake up, and it was like 20 minutes had gone by. And I'm like, man, what the heck's going on? Like it was just it was a lot of things happening all at once. So it wasn't just the fact that I was being shot off the catapult. But it was also that my life was changing because I was leaving my old ship and my old shipmates, co-workers, and starting my new life with this new ship. And actually, I never even saw some of the guys again. That was the last time I saw them. I said my goodbyes, and that was it. Some of the people I kept in contact with, but then I just had this. It was kind of one of those feelings where you're off into a new adventure, kind of like after you graduate high school or start a new job or, whatever, move new houses or something. I had one of those feelings, but it was amplified by this thing about getting to board a plane and being shot off the catapult. So anyway, that was it. Yeah, that was a fun little memory, and I hope you enjoyed it.